There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Hope you guys have had a good week or a good couple of weeks, depending on if I've seen you or not. It's been a trip. Um, we've discussed quite a few things over the past several weeks as we were kind of struggling with this Wycovian top situation. We ended up with a large candle here, which ultimately led nowhere into just a minor sideways trading range until the ultimate breakdown basically a week ago at this stage of the game. And here we are. Yeah, here we find ourselves. So we're down a little bit lower. We broke the range. I think our measured move, we kind of loosely had a measured move of this range. Haven't fully hit it yet. We got pretty close, so that would definitely make the 75% cut. So it's already kind of met expectations, but there's still little ways to go if it just depending on how it wants to suss itself out. Now we did end up with pretty good actually bottoming candle yesterday. Pretty high volume right there, getting close to my very long-term trend line under the undercut and rally on the 200 day. When I was doing the newsletter yesterday, we were under the 200 day, and I talked about an undercut and rally. Honestly, didn't fully think it would happen, but we did turn around and with a nice burst of opening there during the stock market open and good stability throughout the day, we ended up in a pretty good situation on the daily. The volume aggregation tool, though, on the 2 hour doesn't really show a tremendous amount of buying pressure, so a little suspect of this being an ultimate low. Now, it can hold us up for a bit, but we'll see. Like I mentioned, this VA tool, not really enjoying how this is setting up. You're not getting that buying pressure that you would expect out of a hammer candle. So maybe it's kind of a bit of a false signal. I guess we'll see. That's right. Capitulation. No, it's not capitulation. Get your mind out of the gutter. Not capitulation. It is a hammer candle though, and volume is pretty good. This is up in there with the upper echelons of volume, so it's not insignificant, which is why I think it could hold a low for a while. But if you take a look at my little trend line here as a guiding post, we could go out here for a month and just chop it around kind of at the lows. We'll see where we end up. But zooming back out to that bigger picture in BTC, you got all this going all the way back down to the 15,000 level in 22. I've started my line here because this is a less um, has less slope to the line, and this was an increase, so I just kind of got rid of this one. It's pretty close. No use in even really having it. We could give up that line and go to the next line, and we'll just see if it's going to happen or not. Another possibility here, and this probably would happen, I would assume, between today and tomorrow, is on the 2 hour. You do have maybe an inverted head and shoulders that could pop its head up there. We had one in XRP that is still maybe forming shoulder head, maybe shoulder. Was it? Yeah, I thought it was XRP. What was the other one? There's one I had drawn. Oh, Solana. Yeah, Solana's didn't work out super well, but it kind of exceeded here, down all the way back up. We'll talk about Solana in a little bit, but so noticing a chart pattern like this doesn't mean it's going to come to fruition. Obviously, Solana's did not, but it's just something to notice. Anytime you get sequential lows with the second low and lower volume, and then you get the rally up towards that prior interim high, you do have the possibility for a head and shoulders pattern. And so I do like to point it out because what does it mean? Well, a head and shoulders pattern is a reversal, whether it be at the top or at the bottom. And at a minimum, that could be a short term pop. If it does work out, which again, no guarantees, you're looking at a move back into the 95.5, which is still underneath the top of this trend line. So is that a possible move? Yes. Is it likely? We'll see. We'll see how it does in the future here, right? So if you look at Solana's move, which was a failed inverted head and shoulders pattern, this sliced right through on pretty good volume, followed up on heavier volume, undercut the head, which means it's no longer a head and shoulders pattern. Even though it did follow through the neckline, could have had a mini trade right there if you were even interested. What up, English? No top with that blow off top. I'm not sure about that. I mean, there's different kinds of tops, and Bitcoin is behaving a lot less like the Bitcoin of old. So there was no real blow off top over here on this last cycle of Bitcoin. Talked about 2021, 2020, I guess both 2021s. We dropped 76%. You know, that could be considered a full cycle. It wasn't over 80, but it's darn close. So what's it going to do now? It's hard to tell until it actually does it. And yeah, but Wycovian top is a top. It's a form of a top. And Bitcoin is behaving a lot more like a traditional stock chart than it is the crypto of 2017 and prior, where he did go through those boom and bust cycles that were really wild, really definitive. Um, and I feel honestly just really fortunate to be able to see it and experience it and put the put the skills I learned prior to that to use in 2017. Because they don't come across that often, these crazy parabolic moves. They really don't. Now you get great uptrends, which is what this was. This is that same chart just on a weekly time frame, right? You get that same kind of great up move, um, but blow off tops are actually few and far between. I'm not sure about pi cycle top. Are you talking about mine? Oh, pi method. Yeah, I call it the pi method. Well, pi method top, it's you can laugh about it if you want, but yeah, good luck. Good luck finding a better way to really time tops. In reality, I don't know of a better way. Yeah, Palantir, Yeah, we'll talk about Palantir later if you're here when we go through stocks. Palantir, I actually traded that. I traded that last gap up into the top there. Um, I don't I don't suffer downtrend, so I was out of it by the time it dropped, fortunately. But yes, I mean, so big cycle wise, it's always difficult to know when you're gonna form that top. You can just take it, like I say, one leg at a time with the market cycle in mind. That's really the best way to do it because you really have no idea. There's only a few times where you have really good signatures. It's a little bit. I'm not sure if this is the metaphor that I want to use. It's kind of I was gonna say it's a little bit like driving on the freeway. You only have an exit every mile or so. You know what I mean? And the rest of the time you're just driving in the same direction. And then every once in a while you have an exit. Do I take this exit? Do I take this exit? You know? It's like, yeah, I guess you could get off in between the exits, do a little bit of 4 by 4ing unless there's a concrete wall. Like in Arizona, sometimes we'll have fences along the highways. Um, and you can try to get off there and go through a little fence. It's a little but odds are, highway is going to keep going in that direction. And so generally that's what happens. You can try to get off, but there are certain exit markers, and my pi method is a way to time a top. There's other ways as well, um, but from my experience, they're kind of difficult, and there's a lot of guesswork happening from a lot of people, myself included. We're all just guessing until the next candle's printed, or I should say until the candle closes. But I think it's until the next candle's printed. But yeah, if you're looking at pi methods, um, there's exit signals up here, taking big trends and trying to run the big trends, which I think a lot of people try to do that. You try to capture this momentum, which is my trading style, is I try to capture that momentum. I just don't have the patience for me personally to buy and hold from here all the way up. That's just not something I can do. I I've just it's been proven over 20 years of trading. I have no patience for that. And so I found, things that work for me. You guys got to find things that work for you. If you can do that, God bless you and go for it. The question becomes when exit. That becomes the question. So, all right, back to more immediate stuff on BTC here. Yeah, maybe we'll do a head and shoulders, maybe we won't, even if it rallies up and meets its target. And oftentimes what you'll find with head and shoulders patterns, and this isn't even one yet. This is still conjecturing into the future. But even if it does it, actually, we can go back to Solana as an example. There's the top we had for it, and let's just say this was a head and shoulders, and usually they'll stop early. That's just one thing I've noticed is that when you're in downtrends and you print these minor bottoming patterns, and this is a minor bottoming pattern, and this is a minor bottoming pattern, they end up they don't work extraordinarily well. So I think in that regard, you have to take it all with a grain of salt. But pretty garbage market right now in reality. little bit of stability since yesterday, maybe just for the weekend, maybe for a month or more. That reminds me, one thing I did want to just show you guys is that we do have, I'm going to get rid of these. We do have a nice hammer candle yesterday, a pretty good one. Um, but usually, from what I see, hammer candles work best only kind of in certain situations. Hey, what up, Phil? So sometimes where you find a signature is as important as the signature, if not more important than the signature. So this is a hammer that happened pretty much right after a range breaking drop. Now, is that one hammer big enough to negate this drop? Usually not. Um, I'm looking at another form of a hammer right here, which may be something that we have at the moment. So this particular hammer loosely broke a range. It's not a big range break, but you see it comes down. So we're chopping higher with higher highs and higher lows. Now we come down, kind of have a lower low. It's not, I mean, it'd be better if it was underneath of this candle, but you have a hammer candle right after a drop that leads to chop for the next couple of weeks. In my opinion, that's probably what we're going to end up with this hammer. It's not necessarily going to mean an immediate trend change back into an uptrend. But even if it rallies up here, as I just mentioned, it could come back, not hit this trend line, or even hit the trend line and exceed the measured move, and then still be in the downtrend. So if you're going to trade something like this, this inverted head and shoulders signature, you can just keep that in mind. You know, is the uptrend dramatically good, or is it just normal garbage trading, which is backing and filling, and which is going to stall at a breakdown point, which just also coincides with. So it just ends up telling the same story over and over again, and that rally would just be a short-term rally, very likely. So there's a signature, right? That there's a hammer signature getting back to that, which leads to chop. Here's kind of a hammer signature that leads to kind of an uptrend. It fails, but it's also kind of a hammer signature. You can go back to prior trends, and let's see what's going on with these. So see if we find any hammers and any kind of, here's a hammer. There's kind of a range breaking. There's a hammer, and you get a range there. This one does happen to go back up. It isn't the ultimate low. Does define a low. So we can find ourselves in that situation where you're defining a low, and then you can look for some consolidation and then a move up. You know, and that happens to be a lower low, small breakdown point right there that we find resistance at. And then rolls over again. No hammer there. There's no hammers here. A minor hammer there, which is on okay volume, that green one. That one's not too bad. Doesn't change the game though. It undercuts dramatically, and then we find a bottom, and then it kind of starts to change trend after a little double bottom here. So, like I mentioned, I think this hammer is just a little bit too soon. Here's a hammer that works. Volume's okay. It's not really elevated. That's just a random hammer. And random candles are going to be printed. I'm just trying to look for, signatures for any kind of an edge. But I think I already kind of gave you the skinny of what it's going to be likely. One of those two scenarios, it'll probably be where we stall and chop, and then maybe we break a range and go up, which is fine. It means today's not actionable, is really what I'm trying to say. I'm also trying to back it up with chart action. No major hammers, and here's a hammer here that is not really definitive because it doesn't undercut anything. It's in the middle of this whole candle, which all of this action in reality is in the midst of that large candle. So, all right, that's enough of that, I think. So hammer on BTC, I don't think it means much. Could lead to a little mini rally, maybe a inverted head and shoulders, maybe. Lots of maybes right now. Breaking a Wyckoff situation like this, look, in my opinion, there's just extreme patience that's needed. Markets don't move most of the time. They only move about 25 to 30% of the time is a directional move. The rest of the time you're forming choppy ranges. You're just kind of doing that. And right now we just broke a range to the upside, looking to the downside. If this trend line gives up, it's dangerous. I think I mentioned this earlier, the undercut and rally of the 200 daily moving average, which could, lead to a little bit of support, which is pretty much the same. Everything I'm saying is the same thing I started out saying. We're probably going to chop around here for a little bit. If you want the details, I spent the past 15 minutes talking about it. But all right, so let's move on. In my newsletter, I only had BTC and one other coin. So we're going to go through the top 20. If y'all got some ones that you want me to look at, feel free. Otherwise, after that, we'll talk about stocks if you want to hang out for that. I can't stand weekend pumps because 9 times out of 10 we come right back down to fill the gap that formed. Um, Gap on a stock chart, or crypto doesn't really do gaps. You're just talking like weekly close gaps, like weekday close gaps. Water break. Yeah, CME gap. Yeah. So it's pretty obvious if anyone's paying attention around market opens and even sometimes around closes. But from what I've noticed, it's more around market opens because I usually do my newsletter right before the market opens, especially during this time of the daylight savings time. Because in Arizona we don't change, so it's either 6:30 open for me or 7:30 open for me. Right now it's a 7:30 open. I usually do my newsletters around the 7 to 7:30, 7 to 8 o'clock time frame lately. Um, I've noticed a big change in the Bitcoin action, around the stock market open. I don't know what's leading what or fully always what the dynamic is, but there is some craziness going on between the stock market and the cryptocurrency market. I mean, the big institutions they're definitely fully involved. Um, to what end is uncertain, but they're definitely involved. But yeah, so weekend action is always tough. It's they used to yeah they sometimes fade the moves during good uptrends. They'll actually use the weekend in the opposite way. I don't know if you remember this when we were on the uptrend, Phil. During the weekends, what they would do is they would run it Friday right after the close, right after the close, and I'm sure they were probably selling a bunch of put options on or selling futures or whatever the case. I don't know all the dynamics in futures, but selling stuff, run it up over the weekends, and then whatever they would do with those positions. But you would often see that you would see like here's a Sunday move right there in the uptrend. This one is a Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday. Yeah, Sunday, Monday. So there's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday's quiet, Monday. But yeah, you'll see that too. So it is a weird dynamic to really fully understand. And I'm sure there's a large thing with large institutions that have large books over multiple exchanges and they're trying to manage those books overall, so they're trying to make money. So we'll see what the weekend does. I mean, nothing's for certain. Volumes declined already today. You can see yesterday's versus today's. It's minuscule as it typically is. All right, let's go through some other charts, which really aren't doing anything that substantive. You got Ethereum chopping around down here, a little bit of a higher low. I'm not sure there's much to do about it. Ethereum, in my eyes, is essentially dead. I haven't talked about this much on these live streams, so I'll talk about it for a minute. But technically, Ethereum's just been destroyed, just been obliterated. Um, could come back down to the 1,000 if this market doesn't really get bullish. I think you got a failure to really pass its all-time high this entire time. Now you're breaking a long-standing trend line. Volumes accelerating to the downside. There's going to be a lot of Ethereum bag holders. I think they're going to either have a stagnant Ethereum or a much lower Ethereum. Hopefully, we can find support at the 900 if we get down in this area, which I think we will. Not that Ethereum's trash. There's a lot of assets, especially in the stock market, as companies mature. And you would argue Ethereum's a mature ecosystem at this point, right? As things mature, you have different investors interested. And this is kind of one of the dynamics, right? Is who's buying. Usually, when growth stocks are growing or growth assets, you have growth buyers, and they're very aggressive. And that's usually what causes the run ups because they'll be very aggressive. Then you end up with your value investors, which jump in when things are fully valued yet still growing. And their entire goal is really just to kind of beat the S&P 500. And so they will settle for 20%. If they can see an asset with about 20% a year growth, they'll really dive into that because that greatly exceeds their 8%. So then they can pay for their garbage performers that they've been holding for decades. And Ethereum is going to jump into that category if it hasn't already. And you can see just by the lack of action, like you were to throw a Solana chart on top of Ethereum and it'll tell the whole story. It's just been, completely overtaken by the newcomers. And not that Ethereum's irrelevant, far from it, it's very relevant, but it also isn't the newest and shiniest thing. So you end up with this situation, which is loosely new to crypto because Ethereum has always been an asset that has been highly volatile until this whole general cycle the past year and a half or so. Shitcoins are done. I really don't see the BTC dominance dropping significantly this bull run, and it hasn't. It's mainly because of Ethereum. I mean, it's been pretty darn stable. There's Bitcoin dominance, and I think it'll get that way. And it's really funny because I don't do a lot with the dominance chart, Phil. So it's not something I focus on. But what this story tells, kind of something I've been saying for a while, not to call me a prophet or anything, and it has nothing to do with any of this, but cryptocurrency is a bunch of trash. It's legitimately, most of the currencies are garbage. They're used within the ecosystem and they're useful, but as an investment asset, it's all very speculative. The only things that you can argue even have intrinsic value are a Bitcoin, just because everyone knows why. I won't dive into that. Arguably Ethereum because it's the second biggest one, and then put like one or two others, which arguably probably haven't even been invented yet. Or if something, it'll be like on a Solana network, or maybe something even built on the Ethereum network. It'll be something, some useful utility that potentially does something in the real world, which we've been waiting for now for. I mean, I've been involved since 2017. Since then, I remember when 2018, when the bear market of 2018, was here. Um, we did have little pumps here and there with various sectors. ID this last year was a mini theme. Like blockchain ID blockchain makes a lot of sense, but for what? Like what's the actual use case? So Bitcoin dominance such as this, when Bitcoin dominance was crashing, over here, and then you're like, man, is it going to keep going lower? Like what's the paradigm? What does that say about cryptocurrency? If Bitcoin dominance goes down, that means there's other altcoins that are gaining market capitalization at a huge rate, right? Enough to keep up with BTC's market cap, which is astronomical compared to all these other cryptocurrencies. So, you're like, is Ethereum gonna launch up? Is XRP gonna launch up? Which it's had a good run, right? But you look at, uh, is that 100,000? Yeah, 41 billion versus 18 billion. Man, Tether's at 76 billion. That's crazy. Oh no, here we go. 1.6 trillion. That's volume. There you go. 1.6 trillion market cap versus 300, 250. Probably rounding in the correct way. And Ethereum is a garbage performing asset where BTC has a lot more stability. So what's going to catch up to 1.6 trillion from 80 billion? I mean, you're not even talking sense at this point. If something's catching up that fast, you know, but I think you're going to end up, Bitcoin's going to gain more and more dominance. I think, because what's going to catch up? What's the utility that something else, that anything else can offer other than BTC? Seriously. No one's talking about Ethereum. They're talking about Ethereum a third as much as they were a year ago. And it's mainly because of price action. BTC is everywhere now. BTC is known. It is gold. It is legit digital gold. 100%. 100% digital gold. Um, Likely, at some point taking over physical gold. And because we're in a digital world, you know what I'm saying? We're a digital world. When you get to space and we colonize space in 100 years, I don't know how Bitcoin's going to survive the whole space transition, but they're going to have some kind of cryptocurrency. They're not going to be carrying around little golds. But anyway, regardless, yeah, dominance going up. Altcoins are in trouble. They're definitely in trouble. In the larger scheme of things, I think to make any major money, you got to be really good at market timing, or really good at finding that next coin that's going to pump that 100,000x. And they're out there in the stock market too, right? You can extrapolate shit coins to penny stocks, and they're both out there. How much research are you willing to put in? And then how much risk are you going to put on the table? That's really the more important thing to make the kind of money you want to. And there's always stories on forums and Reddit about people that, made 1,000,000% on some shitcoin, but that's like one dude. And it's not you. So you can go make it be you, or you gotta have to live with market timing, in my opinion. Or you just buy Bitcoin as an asset class on the big dips. And one thing too is try to understand when is the opportune time to buy Bitcoin on the dips. Like right now, we haven't fully broken the overall cycle. In my opinion, once this trend line is broken, we're definitely on the cusp of breaking that entire cycle. Uh, so in this instance, right, you can take this trend line and argue buying down here under 24,000 would have been the time. And then there's a 4x up to 100,000. And if this does end up being the top, then you're looking at that cycle repeating. And then you're looking at, where does this lead? Where does this lead us to in terms of price action? And I think that's a relevant question. You've got down here about 15,000 is the last low. Are we going to undercut that? I don't think so. So odds are we'll have a higher low. Maybe it'll come down into this congestion area, about the 30,000 level, maybe. Phil says, I think your odds are better in a casino than finding one shitcoin that 100x's. In all honesty, Phil, um, I I don't think that's necessarily the case anymore. Um, I think, and see, I don't spend time doing this, so this is just me juxtaposing. I think if you spend time in the right communities, and I think you have to spend time finding the right communities. If you spend time finding the right communities, looking at the right things, then you can come to a conclusion. Like finding a Richard Hart thing early on, for instance. You know what I'm saying? Like finding a Richard Hart thing. Um, if you play that accurately, you're doing 100x. You're doing it. You just have to play it and believe it, and that's the hard part. And that really is the hard part, is what do you believe in? I think that can happen 100%. But I think that has to be a focus of yours. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's what I said earlier. I think you got to focus and you have to want that. You have to want that to do that. You can't be some random Joe Schmo that, looks at crypto for an hour a day. You got to do it 4 or 5 hours a day, every day, every day. And that's got to be a focus. And so let's talk about getting wealthy in general, regardless of crypto, stocks, or anything. You need a focus. What's your focus? Everyone here, all 18 of you watching, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on trading Bitcoin effectively? Are you focusing on DCAing into Bitcoin effectively? That's a strategy. What's your strategy, right? Are you trading it? Are you trading it with leverage? Are you going to DCA and it dips? Are you going to try to find the next leading coin that rallies? Are you going to find shit coins? Are you going to run a business? Right? You can become wealthy in a business. Or are you going to focus on business? In which case you ignore all this shit. Are you going to focus on real estate? Are you going to focus on, getting the next salary bump? What is your focus? It's got to be something. Yeah, there you go, Superman. Talking to your customers, your business. Yeah, that's your focus. Go do that. Don't even why are you watching my show? Get the fuck out of here. Go talk to more customers. The best, it's like Steph Curry. It's like Steph Curry. I mean, he put on a show the other night. I didn't watch the game, unfortunately. I actually started watching that game, and then I stopped because I had to go do some stuff for my house renovation. But I wish I would have finished it. Man, watching Steph Curry play basketball is it's the best thing. Like if you just like watching someone excel, just watch Steph Curry. Um, he started shooting when he was 7 years old. He said it once. He's like, and he wasn't even bragging. He's like, someone asked him a question. I forget what the question was, but he's like, yeah, I don't know if you can catch up and do what I do. He's like, I've been shooting since I was 7. He's like, I did the math once. He's like, you would have to shoot like 30 hours a day since. He's like, there's not enough time in the day. You'd have to shoot so many hours. There's not even enough hours in the day if you just start shooting from whatever age he mentioned. He's like, I've shot more than that. He's like, I've shot more than that every day of my life. The dude shoots all the time. He practices correctly. Like I probably won't do this justice, but you can probably like watch Steph Curry practice. He practices, and see, this is what a lot of people do wrong. Um, like you watch Michael Jordan practice, you watch those videos, you watch all the guys, you watch you watch this dude practice, and it's insane. His practice is insane. You know, he practices. That's real in-game stuff he does. What this isn't. You know, they're set and shoot, and then he'll dribble left, he'll dribble right, he'll shoot. Boom. He does that in the game. Like this is what he focuses on, and he makes tens of millions of dollars doing it. Like all these moves, these aren't just set, shoot, set, shoot, set, shoot. These are in-game situations, and he practices set, shoot from various points on the floor. You look at Steve Nash. Steve Nash's practice drills, he would start at like 3 feet from the basket, make like 10 shots back, take a step back, make 10 shots. So you'll see this dude all over the floor doing like in-game scenarios, catch and shoots. Um, but that's his focus. And I show you this not just because Steph Curry's fucking awesome to watch shoot, because it's just art. Like watching him shoot is just fucking art. If you enjoy basketball, it's like watching Messi play. I'm starting to get into soccer because I coach my kids soccer, and it's like that. It's like God, you just have to appreciate the artisanship, the craftsmanship of what these guys do. Even though I guess Messi doesn't practice, if I'm thinking of the right guy, but you just practice over and over again. And when it comes to business, it's just as nuanced, I think, in terms of whatever the business is that you're doing. And when it comes to trading, I think a lot of it is understanding the nuances of the chart and believing the nuances of the chart. And it takes a lot longer in trading than sports. For obvious reasons. You can shoot a basketball. Shooting a basketball is the same on his practice court as it is the same in the game. The only difference is the mental. That's the only difference. It's the same skill set. You just have to train your mental to that perspective where it's really not a problem. And that's something Jordan and Kobe did very well. I'm not so sure about LeBron. I'm not, I know he's amazing, but I know Michael Jordan, and you look at those Bulls teams, they said the practice was more intense than the game. So when the game came, it wasn't as bad. And Steve Kerr, you can look up some Steve Kerr stuff to talk about that. Apex of human evolution, throwing a ball. Well, the fun. It's funny, Topher, about that. Getting sidetracked here for hopefully not too long. I've actually thought about that. We got billions of people on the planet. What are we capable of, and what are we doing? Well, so far we've built these technologies on the back of insanely intelligent people in different ways. You take the foundation of Isaac Newton, and you don't have Einstein probably without Newton, and you don't have Hawking without Einstein. Without Einstein, you really don't have computers. Without Hawking, you really don't have the next generation of computers. And those guys did one thing, and then someone else took that and ran with it. We are so good at and this is why people get scammed so easily. We're so good at trusting what the previous person just proved to us is true and building on that. Like we'll accept that truth and we'll build on it. It's like building a block wall, you know what I mean? We're just building on that block wall. And the same goes with trading. I sit on the shoulders of trading giants. You guys are trying to sit on what small shoulders I've got. It's one of those things where you can either you can master throwing the ball built on the shoulders of those people before you, or you become, and this is not political, you become like an Elon, you know, where you're standing on the shoulders of the giants. You go, I'm gonna do the next leap. We've got to get to Mars. You could say that, and you can take that route, or you can, you know, sit here and criticize people on YouTube and Reddit. But uh, the other side of that is that the other thing I thought of is look at what SpaceX is doing. It takes the rest of humanity to even have a SpaceX. It really does, because SpaceX couldn't exist without the guys that make the machines. And those guys hate their jobs. And those guys couldn't exist with the guys that smelt the metal to make the machines. And those guys hate their jobs. And all of us doing our rudimentary jobs that we hate in this whole overall thing enables those niches of us moving forward in technology and moving off the planet so we can have sex in space because that's really what it's about. Um, but yeah, so anyway, the evolution of apex of human evolution is throwing a ball. Not that it's to apex, but we're motivated by different things. And I stopped playing basketball a long time ago, but the lessons of someone excelling in something can be a lesson that Superman can use, focusing on his business. And hopefully he's not even here anymore. He's back to focusing on his business. And I think about that, like, what do I focus on as me as Randy? What do I focus on? Well, right now I'm focused on doing my house, and after that, I'm 100% back to getting focused on trading. And I'm gonna build a computer system that does what I want it to do in the trading world, and that's gonna be my focus. And then if I'm successful in getting that functioning, and then I get to focus on a bigger picture thing. At least that's my plan right now. All right, back to this stuff. What are we doing again here? Oh yeah, crypto. So Bitcoin, maybe inverted head and shoulders. Maybe we'll pop up a little bit. Maybe we'll stall. If we undercut the trend line, I think we're done. I think we're done. I think we're done. Think of many, do one. My problem is I think of many, do like six. I'm trying to get, I'm trying to narrow it down, man. But the second I get in front of this computer, a lot of the stuff I want to do is computer based, and so yeah, think of many, do one. I like that. Do I try and trade? No, I don't really trade cryptocurrency anymore, to be honest with you. It's been a while. Um, Reason being is I got really successful in stocks in the past couple of years, like really really successful. So I trade stocks. That's about it. I would like to trade crypto. The problem with crypto is I don't have the same tools in crypto as I do in stocks. They've limited the exchanges to some trash ass exchanges. I can't trade Binance. If I could trade Binance, it'd be a different story. It would be a different story. I liked Binance's tools. Um, and I've even gone to the troubles of looking to set up a company in Ireland to trade out of, but that fell by the wayside. Going back to what gentleman was saying over there, do one, Superman. Think of many, do one. It just wasn't worth my time going through setting up a corporation somewhere, dealing with all that bullshit. So um, I'm really just focused on the stock market, but I love the crypto market. I really do. Um, I make some money from the show. I don't make that much in reality, but I do the show to help the people that are subscribed to it. I try to give my viewpoint because I know a lot of them, not that they rely on it, but it's a good weatherman. I view myself kind of like a weatherman in reality. Not really. I don't really try to give people trades. If I see a trade, I'll mention it, but I try to think of myself as a weatherman, give possibilities and some percentages. It also keeps me on the markets every day. You know what I mean? Which could be hard to do because I'm lazy at my core. I'm just lazy at my core, and um, I try not to be. And so this keeps me honest from that perspective as well. And it gets me more charting time. That's the other thing is that I didn't think about this, but it gets me more charting time. And the more charts I look at, the better I get. And like Steph Curry at 30 whatever, I'm 40 whatever, still taking shots, and my eye just gets better and better and more focused and more honed. It really does. Because I do this every day. Um, I'd say my average newsletter takes me 20 to 25 minutes, between 15 and 25 minutes on a quick day. It'll take me 15. Um, Focus on perfecting laziness. You know what? In all honesty, I feel when I've perfected laziness, I won't be lazy because you've worked on perfecting it. No, seriously, I would love to have a team of people that I could just throw my fucking crazy ideas at, iterate on it. I'm lazy in action, not lazy in thought. So that's just how I operate. I don't, just from the people that I've encountered in my life, I don't think like many people. My mind doesn't work like many people. It just doesn't. But when it comes to actually like doing stuff, um, anyway, different conversation. But what was I talking about? Anyway, yeah. So I focus. Oh yeah, I was talking about how when I do this and why I do this. Because a lot of people ask me why you're still doing the show. Because there's not too many programs that is small as mine that have been around as long as mine, and it's because uh, I want to help the guys. The guys that come in, I want to help them because it's hard to find good people. I'm good people, and it's hard for people to find them. So when they find me, I try to help them out as much as I can, which I really take pride in that. But my eye is getting so honed, it's ridiculous. It really is. It really is crazy. I notice these RSI, see these divergences. I see them in the chart now. I don't even need the RSI. I just natively see in my eyeball that this is an RSI divergence. It's it's like you can kind of it comes down to the angles too. Like it comes down to doing these trend lines and just noticing the differences. Um, noticing the differences in angles of attack. So this hump's a little bit too high. This low doesn't quite get down to the lows, and that you end up with a divergence in that case. And just not that it's a reversal, but just means slowing and buying or selling pressure, stuff like that. But it helps me out a lot, and it's just in my mind, it's just only going to get better with time. I mean, I'm not going to get worse. I'm only going to get better. Learn a couple more things, um, and be patient. And then after that, I got to get, and which I've done pretty good at focusing on the best way to capitalize on these situations. So my next thing I want to focus on, I really have this bigger picture down with my strategies. Now I really want to focus on these interim moves and see if there's value capture there that's repeatable. I'm not there yet, though. I need to finish my house. Do you think Bitcoin breaks down further from here or starts to head back up from here? Um, I usually don't form those opinions, to be honest with you, Phil. I really don't. As a trader, I'm in a position or I'm cash. If it's not going up, I'm in cash and I wait. Okay, so I've been in wait mode and I'm still in wait mode. I'm about this trend line right now. In this situation, I'm about the trend line. If this trend line fails, which has been holding our trend up for quite a long time, if that trend line fails, then I think we're in for a much longer winter. I think it could come to this trend line, you know. So you have a couple of speed bumps before you go downhill. Um, if we hold above this, we have a shot. But I don't like the way this Wyckoff top is played out. It's like, why would it do it here and not here? Barring maybe Trump does something. I mean, there's gonna have to be a larger catalyst because we just took some distribution pretty hard out of the range. And again, if you go back to 2021, here's a Wyckovian top, very similar. You come down, you slice through the 200, you bounce for a while, then it comes back. So I'm really not interested until we break a range, you know? So here's this large range made by this very large down candle, which is a very large capitulation candle. And it's not the ultimate capitulation, but it is a. So that defines your range. And then, as time passes, you see a trend develop, you see volume get low. If we don't go down, we go up. So we ended up bouncing up. And that's a tradable rally. That's a tradable. So again, one leg at a time with the market cycle in mind. So at the moment, I think when it comes to market cycle, we're definitely in a holding pattern. And if it's really funny when you think about, so I just drew this. I just drew this here. This this is going to be. I think it's going to be trend. This is going to be trend. This is going to be time. This is kind of how I view the market. Okay, this is kind of how I view the market. Almost a bit like an RSI. Consider this an overbought and an oversold, and this will be a bull trend, right? And then you'll end up with a bear trend down here. This is how I view it. I kind of view it almost in a digital capacity. So you start out in a trend, you go bullish, and then you stay bullish. Sometimes you'll take steps down and go back up, but oftentimes it'll go like this. It'll go right back into trend. and then it'll go right down into bear, and it'll chop up a little bit, chop down. It'll go like this. This is how I view everything in reality. I view it like this. Like it can stay high for a long time, and it could dump right back down into trend. So this is how I view things. I really, it's almost binary, but there needs to be like 0, 1, and -1, if you will, like a 3 or 4 layer situation. This is kind of how I view things. This is kind of how I trade. Like I'll try to be involved when the trend goes up, and I'll try to be, out when the trend goes down, and in when the trend goes up, and out here, out here, out here, out here, in here, out here. If that makes sense. Like I try to really stick to, like maybe I'll try to get some of these. But what I was saying a moment ago is like I'm trying to focus on these interim moves where there's maybe some value that I can exploit. But I don't have the bandwidth personally. But so this is how I view it. So we're in this big trend area right now, to be honest with you. I don't know if we're here or I don't know if we're here, Phil, but um, we're back into this trendless, you know, area. And that's really how I view it. That's actually exactly how I view it. I don't It's just, are we going to rally? Are we not going to rally? And that when you're up in this, it's like, yeah, we're in this weird trending position. And we're just oscillating all the time between, is this a tradable situation or is this not? Like this up here to me is tradable. This is tradable to me. None of this is. None of this is tradable. Even this, I generally won't trade up until this top section. Sorry. But I won't trade right there. Coming out of lows, I think there's extreme value here. I really do. I think there's great value coming out of lows. Um, but it's hard. It's harder to know what is the right one, and that is something that I want to work on. Completely out of the context of this show. But yeah, so where are we at right now? We're in the trendless scenario. We're really trendless at the moment. We dropped out of support. If we start undercutting this, I think we'll go lower. You know, I really don't form opinions in these situations. I try to look for the signals. And right now, the signals aren't good. The signals are not good. Even if this little inverted head and shoulders works out, your target is here underneath the trend line. So it's going to have to get really above this trend line. And one thing you'll notice oftentimes in these topping situations is those trend lines end up holding. So we go back to 2021. Obviously, I'm cherry picking here a little bit. You know, say there was a chart here, a chart pattern here that juxtaposed that showed a target up here. Well, that's still in the downtrend. So you have a trade, but you don't have a trend, right? And then so here this gets taken out, and your trade could start down here if you wanted it to. Could also start right there. And that's a good trade as well. And that's kind of loosely where you find support. Actually, I remember that. We talked about that support, undercutting and coming back. And then here's a double bottom chart pattern. And then you have another trade right there. That's an actual double bottom pattern that makes this leg up. There's a failed cup and handle right there. And then the trade is over with. I mean, trend lines really are, in my opinion, and a lot of people are going to fight me on this, and I really don't care, but trend lines are amazing tools. Absolutely amazing tools. And like any tool, you have to use them properly. So last night I took apart my bed frame because we're moving out so we can do our remodel. And I brought about 12 Allen keys with me because I didn't know what size to use. And I used the one key that fit. And trend lines are just like that. Take 12 with you, find one that works. Trend lines are just like that. So, but yeah, and it just depends on the time frame. You can take this trade, and that would be a successful trade. And it doesn't mean I'm wrong that we're still in a downtrend if it rolls over and fails. It means we're both right, and that's great. But everyone's, a lot of people are stuck in this, and you'll see this out there a lot in the wild internet. Is I'm right, you're wrong. Well, we can both be right, and it's okay. All right, let's move on. So yeah, getting back to garbage. Pretty much everything here is garbage. There's really nothing in a tradable situation. Ethereum is dead. We talked about that. Solana went really random. I'm going to delete this inverted head and shoulders. Didn't turn out to be a thing. You still could use that neckline as a buy if you wanted to, but nothing really. We're back to random action. Something caused this pump. I think there was talk of what oh yeah, Solana ETF, right? I think that's what caused this pump. But we're right back to testing the breakout. That could lead to some support, but again, bigger trend is still just atrocious. Still under the 10-day moving average. That is, you do not want to be living under the 10-day and go long something, in my opinion. That's not how I operate. Now, we did come back off of this low 126 level. We did find support there, so that's a positive. Could that be a low? It could be a low. I would need more evidence to say it's buyable. BNB choppy. A lot of things closed really good yesterday, and that was with the stock market closing pretty good yesterday. So we'll look at that a little bit later. That's not too bad. Um, Again, nothing is really actionable today from what I've seen. XRP broke down here, came back, failed at the breakdown point. So now you're still waiting for this large head and shoulders to hit a target here of 156. And we had this head and shoulders up here, guys. So for those of you that didn't see this and are not subscribed to my show, I guess is my one commercial for my show. Um, this is a large head and shoulders that we talked about up here in the moment. And we talked about multiple ways to short this thing, and they all kind of worked out. I think this breakdown here didn't work out. You may have been stopped out, but we talked about a stop right there, even up here a couple days there, talking about these head and shoulders. Again, like I said, I looked at so many stupid charts so much, and I have to pay close attention because I do it for you guys. I can't be lazy on it. That I see these early. I see chart patterns early at this stage in my career, and it doesn't mean they always work out like the Solana one didn't, but I see them, and you can make plans around those. But I think this one's still working on its way down. If the market stays choppy, and see, this was a Trump move. Barring anything else, this may work out. Like if Trump doesn't do anything with crypto in the next 30 to 60 days, this could come down and hit this target potentially. I think that's still in play. If he says something prior to that, though, all bets are off. So Trump moves the markets. Next up is Doge, which is unfortunately living at this lower range that it's been stuck in. So I don't think any of this is tradable. Um, for longs at least. Shorts on, if we start popping, and any pop can be shortable, I think, in this environment under the right circumstances. You got to look for those topping candles. Cardano chopping at lows. Tron's been choppy generally. A good move up yesterday could be a shortable situation, as I just mentioned. Anything that goes up a lot right now, I think, could be shortable. We are generally in a downtrend. The question is, do you take it? Where's your stop, and where are you taking profit? I think most of these trades are small right now because of the bottoming situation yesterday. I don't think we go big either direction. Shiba, chopping lower, not much going on there. Ton seems to be happy with a downtrend. This has been pretty consistent in the downward action. There hasn't been a lot of bounces. Any bounce is shortable. That bounce was shortable. That bounce was shortable. Even that bounce was shortable. So we'll see. The closer we get to this, the more dangerous it is we find some support. A breakthrough that is not good for this asset, which shouldn't even be up here to begin with. AVAX, chopping lower in a bear flag at the moment. That pops up here, could be shorted with shorting signatures. Hold on a second. Looks like I had a text message. Hold on a second. Okay, cool. My soccer team, I got a group text going, and they changed the location of soccer this week. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to run out of here too, so I don't have time to do shit afterwards. What do I gotta stop by the house. Hold on. I gotta stop. I gotta get my soccer clothes on because I'm gonna be running with the kids. So I gotta go to the house, change. Okay, so I gotta leave by. Yeah, I got time. Okay. AVAX, bear flag, lower. Sui was a favorite one until it really didn't perform anymore. Not much going on here. Bunch of garbage there. Bitcoin Cash with a can. Oh, someone mentioned Litecoin earlier. I did see you, Topher. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll give you my spiel on Litecoin. So Bitcoin Cash, big day yesterday. I'm not sure 100% why. Um, I honestly think, and this is what made me think about Litecoin, I do think that there is a little bit of an attempt to accumulate the good original coins. I do think so because if you think about what we talked about earlier, where Bitcoin is probably one of the only major assets, the other ones that will probably be okay, maybe, will be Bitcoin like assets, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. And you're seeing every once in a while just a little bit more accumulation in Bitcoin Cash and Litecoin than we've seen in the past several years. And it's not a lot, it's a little bit, but like see like all this action up here, like doesn't all this action here, not all of it gets sold off, at least it doesn't appear to be. Look at the VA tool, you know. So I think they're starting to accumulate some. Maybe someone can do some homework on a bunch of wallets with all these, and maybe they're just accumulating for another large price run for some of these, because most of these old hats have really not run for significant periods of time. So maybe they'll come back in vogue. And their networks are still going. They're still valuable networks. So anyway, short term here on Bitcoin Cash, not so sure. Could consider interpret this as a bull flag, in which case you'd want to try to buy at the high over 324. But into where the trend line, it's hard to say. It's not even fully developed yet. Chainlink, Pepe, a bunch of trash. Pepe firmly in lows from the third, so that's not good for Pepe. This gives up some support, which loosely is already done actually. So that is already in very dangerous territory. This could come down dramatically if you're looking to short. Pepe could be a good one. DOT has been trash. I don't do anything with DOT. Don't even like to look at it. Just there's much better options in DOT. Near Protocol, choppy. Not much to do there. Leo. We talked about shorting it up here because it's one of the ones that's held up really well if the market's going to drop. And then it dumped, but we're pretty much all the way back. I'd say we're almost in a shortable situation. Again, with the stop, that's only 3%. Maybe just give it 5% to the highs. And just, if the market falls apart, this thing's going to collapse. I mean, look at how high up this is, unless they just manipulate the price, which is possible. But you look at a situation like this and you're like, yeah, this thing can dump ski for 40, 50%. Um, the only problem is you don't have a timetable. You could hold this for months. All right, so Litecoin. Litecoin, need another little water break here. Litecoin's a little bit unique. This asset has been able to hold up pretty well, at least for recent levels, like these recent levels. All right, water break. So Litecoin, able to just hold up in this area. Bitcoin's broken down, and yes, it's been volatile. It's got these big spikes. Um, Great accumulation here. And you can see the buyers and the sellers, but it's holding up. So regardless of what this tool looks like, the price action is telling you that there's people floating Litecoin. And when you look at the much bigger picture of Litecoin, it's actually in a pretty advantageous spot. If at some point it's gonna go like much, much higher. It's in a pretty advantageous spot. And volume is really good. Now, granted, this is Binance. I don't think we have a LTC index chart. I looked for this the other day, well, other week. I don't think there's an index. They don't have an index for Litecoin. It'll say index right here. I don't think there's one for Litecoin, which is kind of annoying. What about crypto? Yes. Oh, see, that's another exchange. That's crypto, right? Crypto.com maybe. I don't know, but yeah, they don't have an index like they do with an Ethereum or Bitcoin. I use the Bitcoin index chart. Um, so there's more data here. Obviously, it started at zero. So, but I think this is an intriguing situation. It's holding up really well. It's off of the lows here down at this 50, 60 level. It's only 125. Bigger picture, longer term. Why not? Why not Litecoin? Litecoin's highly utilized, from my understanding, in lots of places globally. So they could take a Bitcoin, Litecoin perspective, gold and silver. I do think that's still valid. And from 85,000 to 125, going back to market cap, where Litecoin sits, at 10 billion. Could it get to 100 billion? Yeah, it could. I think it could, but you know, what are you going to put in there? How long are you going to give it? It's one of those assets that is a good asset, but just doesn't have the cachet of Bitcoin, and people would rather have Bitcoin than Litecoin, and it suffers from that dramatically. But it'll probably get its just desserts one day, and then you'll wish you bought it $125.22. That's just how it's going to go. You don't know if it's 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, 12 years from now. If you haven't 10x your money in that time frame, you wish you would have just bought Litecoin and held it. That's kind of how I view about this. But doing that will be fucking painful, mental anguish for until that moment happens, if it even happens. So that's my spiel on Litecoin. I like it. I've always liked Litecoin. What's not to like about Litecoin? It's a better Bitcoin. It's I haven't researched them in a long time, but it's more liquid. Um, I think it's more liquid. It's more liquid. It's got a faster block time. I think again, it's been a long time. It's got a lot of positives. Got a good consortium behind it. Um, so, but people would just rather have Bitcoin, gold and silver. It's just gold and silver. APT sucks. Uniswap sucks. And OM not doing OM things. So I don't think there's a lot to do here with OM. All right, guys, any questions, any charts you want me to look at? Other than that, I'm going to talk about stocks for a bit. So let's go look at stocks. Stocks actually came back pretty good on Friday. Um, let's minimize that for the most part. Stocks came back pretty good on Friday. The indexes got killed all week long, absolutely destroyed. MicroStrategy, okay. So good volume on the ES, good volume on the NQ. How the Qs looking? Not as good volume on the Qs, but we came down, undercut and rallied the range, which is pretty good. The question is this, see, it's a weird market dynamic right now. And this puts me at a bit of a disadvantage from a stock trading perspective. When I look at macro stuff, I like to look at what the market's paying attention to in the moment. I don't fully know what it's paying attention to in the moment, mainly because I don't watch a lot of news, so I don't really know what's out there. But if it comes to inflation, if it comes to all those kinds of things, no, I can check it out. Um, usually it's pretty easy to take a look at those to understand the dynamic behind that. I don't know if this is I don't know what this is based on. Is this based on Trump? And if it's based on Trump, what dynamic? Is it I don't know the dynamic it play here. Is it immigration? Is it the slashing of government spending? Is it one particular aspect of government spend? Like it's hard to know what it is here. So I generally just kind of stay away for the most part. Pay attention. There's some good trades midday yesterday that unfortunately didn't have the bandwidth to take. Maybe next year when the renovation's done, I will. So that's kind of the dynamic there. But Friday had a good close at support, kind of. The Nasdaq undercut a little bit, but it does that. So we could rally back pretty good here. We're not too far from highs. We bounced right off my long-term trend line. So I like that. No one else cares. 200 daily moving average came into play as well with that trend line. So let me go look at that. Pendle's a crypto, right? What are you interested in with Pendle? Because this is just as garbage as everything else right now. Everything is a huge piece of trash right now, Nicholas. Just to save you a little bit. there's there's no good going on here. So you have, at the tops, basically a triple top, one, two, three tops. You're down substantially. It's trendless. Um, it's like everything else is the same right now. Bitcoin just broke trend this week out of the Wyckoff top. So I don't really think there's much going to be bullish unless it's a new token. If you bring me something new, like I don't does Binance does CoinMarketCap have a new cryptocurrency? Maybe recently added. You can find something new, but these are all gonna be garbage. Let's sort by market cap, I guess. Berkshire Hathaway. What are they doing? So 100,000 million billion, 53 billion, the ACT crypto token. Let's see what that chart looks like. What the hell kind of weird ass stair step and shit is that? What? What is this? Maybe this is how you do this, and I should have been looking at this for 20 years now instead of anything else. And how's it worth 56 billion, 50 billion market cap? Wow, someone's playing with Uniswap apparently. What is that about? Liquidity is only $12 million on Uniswap. There's some fucking games being played here. You know what? I a little bit regret not doing a shitcoin scam and just make a few million real quick. I have a little bit of regret I've never done that in my years in crypto. I definitely could have. I and I still might. You never know, but haven't been able to bring myself to do it yet. I print a coin like this and become a billionaire overnight off of 12 million in volume. What the hell's going on there? That's insane. But anyway, if you could find one of these that has like a good chart in these environments, maybe that could work, you know, but in reality they just do this. They don't do much. So anyway, that's crazy though. ACT, it's on one exchange. That's the funny part. Okay, enough of that garbage. Yeah, tokens are crap right now, man. They really are. They're just garbage. Um, they're just trash, man. They're just trash. We're trendless at the moment. There's really nothing much good going on. You know, you look at this chart. I don't even get interested until here. That's a good buy point. That one, but it doesn't go very far. And then if you look at the August low, oh here, why don't you sell it up at the top at $7, you greedy bastard? You got fucking greedy. See, look, Nicholas, if you're going to buy a low, you sell a top. That's the rule. If you buy the low, you sell the top. It's not buy the low, then go back down. Come on, Nicholas. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. You're supposed to sell the top. That was 200% you missed out on. Come on. Come on. I expect more from you. You're a very smart and intelligent and very handsome person, Nicholas. I expect better. Seriously though, if you buy a low, you sell a top. That's why it's buy low, sell high. If you're gonna do the buy low thing, you sell high. So you kind of screwed that one up. But yeah, there's really nothing to do here. You could hold if you already held through this, you may as well just keep holding. So and until it gets back up there, especially if you don't need the money. Not much to do there. All right, let's go look at Berkshire Hathaway at all-time high, huh? I didn't know that. I like Berkshire Hathaway. I don't really look at it though. Damn, son. Holy shit. That's a breakout on the BRB. How much are those options? Holy shit. Look at the volume. Jeez. Wow. That's insane. I don't even know what to say about that. That's pretty good. So, what's Warren Buffett's net worth now? 156? My the dude. The dude, man. He is the fucking man. This is okay. Is the best investor ever. Absolutely ever. Best, I'm going to say trader. I'm trying to stop using investor with Warren Buffett. He is the best trader ever. Some of his trades are lifetime trades, some of his are short term trades, but my goodness. My goodness. I'm kind of happy for Warren. That's awesome. Maybe I should have bought Berkshire Hathaway. Wow, what would those options even be like? Like he gives it all away. Well, he kind of hoards. He only started. Bill Gates started at him selling 5%, but I digress. Wow, what a man! Imagine buying that dip 162 in 2020 for Berkshire Hathaway. That is crazy. Good for Warren Buffett, man. Good for him. That's awesome. All right, what else you got? You have MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy goes as Bitcoin goes. It's given up a lot. It's already given up a lot. I don't think there's gonna be much from it here. Um, it just trades with Bitcoin, and I don't hold things longer term. That's just not something that I do. So if you want to hold a MicroStrategy, that's fine. In terms of trading, you'd have been out already if you were paying attention to price action. You got a huge blow off top right there on that day. That's your exit signal. If you don't listen to that, why are you trading? That's it. That's the exit signal. You get out on that candle, and it never even really attempted to go back. You can always get back in later too. That's the other part. So MicroStrategy's dead dog. Um, Hims. I really haven't looked at this chart. So you're seeing a lot of distribution right now. They're taking some profits on this one, and it's definitely hurting the stock chart. Back to the 50-day. Good bounce though. They got a pretty good doji on high volume. So this is likely setting up a basing structure. It was down 50%. Okay. So yeah, I mean, well, everything right now is in a void for me, Topher. Um, so, well, you didn't ask about that. It was Nicholas. No, yeah, it was Topher. Okay. Um, Everything right now is in a void until this market volatility gets sussed out. So I just don't do stuff like this. I like to take trades that are very obvious and very low risk in my view, and that means it has to have a good price action behind it. And this just got heavily distributed, and they could be buying it. It hasn't really broken trend, so but I would rather wait for kind of a basing setup than I would just randomly buy a low, because there's structure and there's randomness, and I really do look for structure. Uh, this one looks like random lows has worked in the past, unless you're buying these random lows. But that's the situation. They work until they don't. And if you're in this game long enough, you realize that when they don't, sucks. So you try to avoid those situations. So the best traders are very picky. I'm highly selective. Um, Hood, very similar situation. A lot of distribution here. Look at my volume aggregation tools. Not a lot of selling until right now. Boom, a shit ton of selling. These past couple of trends there's a selling swath right there and a bunch of selling right now. Back to the 50, it hasn't broken trend yet, but that is a lot of volume. So that is a gap. Look at that. That's a topping signal right there on earnings. And that's even the high volume day. That's the high volume day. So that is a very clear resistance. And it's going to be hard. Look at that. Look at the size of that candle. It's going to have a hard time getting above that. So this one is different because this one's a breakout candle. So the argument is, well, that's big. Why didn't that stop it? The difference is this. The difference is this was in for a multi-year sideways action, and that's the breakout candle. That's your topping candle. They're the same size. So I would argue that's topped at 65. Look at the run it had. Huge top. I think you give this one time to breathe. I don't think you jump back in. If you jump back in, if it gets back to 65, you're lucky and you sell it. Unless it gets even more volume and it goes through it, which is rare that happens. Um, yeah, I don't know much about Robinhood and their fundamentals and stuff like that, but I think that's something you take into consideration. All right, so that was all I had for requests. Let's go back through some top names after we know the indexes got choppy with a good close on Friday. Apple came back hard. I almost traded this. I did put on a trade, but I misunderstood my trade. Then I closed it immediately and didn't do it. It's kind of a boredom trade. It was really, 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 really tiny too. Tesla maybe finding support of the 200-day. Maybe. I don't know. This is such a dynamic with what's going on right now. And with the political side of Elon, it's dangerous. I don't like dangerous trades. I think this is a little bit dangerous. There's talks about the Cybertruck was discontinued. Um, that's dangerous to me. So I'm happily walking away from this. This was a good trade. I think I traded that actually. Um, but other than that, no. Sox will undercut support, trying to come back. Didn't do a great job yesterday of really staying off of the floor. Nvidia, nice bounce back yesterday. Did a lot of damage on Thursday after earnings. I think this needs some time. Palantir, undercut. Pretty good day on Friday, though it didn't even really manage to get that much into the prior day's range. So staying away from this one. And pretty much everything else sucks. OSCR. And I'm going to go after this, guys. So get your last request in, and then I'm going to bounce. Very random bunch piece of garbage. Why would you do anything with this? Random, 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 random. So, you know, so when I look at a chart like this, here's a little secret that I use. Um, Oftentimes when I look, because I so you have to realize what I do is I trade extreme breakouts. Okay, I try to trade these uptrends right here, right here. I try to trade these big uptrends coming out of good situations. This could be buyable for me actually. That could be buyable. Um, I haven't done this trade in a long time. It used to be a bread and butter of mine, but I haven't done it in a while. I would maybe trade this one. I'd more likely trade this. I'd more likely trade that right there. What I look for is this. I look for really good uptrends. I look for verticality, verticality, consolidation, verticality. There's no verticality here. None. So this is also undercutting prior basing structure, which means that it doesn't even have a first move yet. So this is a first move. This is a base. This is the trade I would take. Nothing right here. I look for that. NVIDIA is just a great example of that. Verticality, basing, verticality, choppy garbage I've avoided. I think I took like one or two mini trades, but nothing up here. Okay, it's very random right now, and that is the difference. If you want something to run, it usually is because it ran before. Okay, you can try to guess where it's going to run, but that's a dangerous game. You don't know. There's some verticality. There you go. It's a little better. Verticality, basing structure, a little bit choppy. I'd like it to be cleaner. It's got a little gap here, comes up with the high volume doji, which is a negative, and then rolls right back over. This could be a cup and handle. You start taking out this, that could be buyable. If you want it, I do look for early entries. That could be an early entry. This is a cup and a handle. So that's pretty good. Yeah. So look at this one. This is nice. Nice horizontal. You break out of it. Now you have a cup and handle. I don't know much about this one. Let's take a look at it. Yeah, see, all the markets closed really good on Friday. 19 billion. It's not a small company. Very good. Very, very nice. Um, Sales 78%. Earning margin sucks. Earnings EPS 78% growth. EPS this year 322. That's pretty good. PE's not bad. 42. That's good. Uh, Debt isn't huge, but it's good to know about it. Where is it at? I don't look for it that much, as you can tell. Wow, zero point 0.06. Holy crap, that's really good. Yeah, this actually looks like it could do something. What is this? Grab Holdings Limited. See, so this is how I work, Topher, and everyone else listening. I look at a chart. If the chart looks good, I look into the company. That's what I do. Making every day better. From essential services to earning opportunities, we're here with the all-in-one platform. Food Mart Express. Oh, so they're everything delivery, not just food delivery, everything. Interesting. Grab and BYD, so are they Chinese? That looks like a China person. That could be a China person. That's a China person. Those look like China people. Is this all in China? Why is it in the US? Are they US too? Or are they just China? Oh, they're all over Asia. Oh, that's cool. Nice. Oh, they're Singapore. Oh, okay. Maybe that's why it's in American. Grab for business, grab ads, grab finance. Indonesia? Okay. Nice. Cool. This is pretty cool. This is a good one, Topher. Yeah, you see the Door Dashes and the stuff like that. Market cap of 19 billion. So they're growing pretty good, it looks like. What's the link? Just grab.com. That's awesome. This looks like a good one. Topher, I kind of like this one, bud. This is nice, man. I'm not sure what's up with this. I'd like to know what this was about, but I don't think it's necessary. But look at the volume here. Look at the volume on the way up. Look at that. Look at my volume aggregation tool. Boom, huge green spike right there. And you get a cup and handle. This is pretty dope. I actually really like this, Topher. Let's see what IBD has to say about it. So you're witnessing right now how I operate, 100%. This is pretty cool. I like early up. I usually don't get early opportunities because I don't look around that much. That's another thing I want to change. Um, but yeah, this is a good opportunity. 20 billion is already a little bit heavy, but they only recently IPO'd. Okay, so Singapore-based holding company delivery mobility and digital financial services in Southeast Asia. Quite a bit of red dots. Yes, they don't like small. Accumulation distribution of B. 8 quarters of increasing fund ownership. That's good. Relative strength here at 92. Yeah, it's a little bit too much distribution. I wonder when these guys got public. I bought those speakers. Those are nice. Yeah, excuse me, I had to sneeze. EPS last quarter, 0. Last 3 quarters, 72%. That's good. Okay. I'm not too mad at this, actually. I kind of rather like it. It's not like a super high growth name. So it came out in December 2020. So here's another thing too. You look at this isn't quite an IPO. This could almost be considered an IPO vis-a-vis IPO basis with IBD, but it's not because it's older than 2 years. So it's been out for all, but they're likely getting profitable. Look at the yeah. Let's check a look at this. I like this VA tool. This is pretty good. A little bit suspect on the handle. Look at that uptrend. Bam, bam. Look at peak close, peak close, peak close on a high volume day. This one was a big gap. There's a big position there. Support right in that area. That's good. Moving averages are commingling. They break out. This is pretty good, man. Um, 3 to 6 almost. So this was a good 60, like 70, 50, 70% run, 60% run. So what's your target for something like this? Could be a 20%. So you're looking at 680. All right, let's do it. I'm going to go through a little trade like this. See, there's outliers. Remember earlier I mentioned in crypto, I said look for those little ones that are brand new that could pop. This is new. So when you're in a big growth story like this, if you notice these early, unless we go into a really deep bear market situation, it won't affect it that much. You know, it'll affect it a little bit, but not that much. And this is already pretty big at $20 billion. It's actually kind of a substantially large little company. So you got people selling February. So there's some recent sales. Not too bad though. Only a couple $100,000. So that's just living money for them probably. You got a couple $1 million here. Okay. So they're not. They're not exiting this thing yet. It would be good to look at an earnings announcement thing from them and like their what they think their total market is. Like what's it? Isn't DoorDash public? So what's DoorDash? So they're 20 billion. DoorDash is 83 billion. They're not that far behind. I mean, a 4x is nice and all. Income 128, 120. Oh, 10 billion in sales. 54 PE. So 123 million or 83 million in wait, there's sales. 10 billion in sales. 2 billion in sales. So they're a little bit extended here. Hey, what's up, Aram? I'm actually going to leave here relatively shortly. Uh, yeah, I need to leave in about 15 minutes. But we found this one called Grab. Topher brought in this one called Grab that actually looks pretty cool. Check it out. You got a nice, look at this thing. You got a nice cup and handle coming out of a long consolidation. I'll take it. Okay, so let's go to Grab. So I'm going to really quickly look at an options trade on it. Yeah, see, it may be too cheap for a good options trade. That could be a problem. Let's just go out farther, just cause I guess 139. Let's see if there's any open interest on this thing. Wow, there's some decent open interest here. 33, 50,000 for 6. We're at 485. 52,000 for 6. Nothing in the puts column. This is all buys. 30,000 there. Nothing for 41 days. Not too much for 34 days. 60,000 for 20 days at 5. I don't know when that came on the thing. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I think it could have a move for sure. It's got a lot of things going for it here. See, I'd want to go further out because I don't know when it's going to break out, if it breaks out. And the further out I go, the more insulated I am from loss. So here, I don't know what I'd have to buy depending on my target. I mean, if it doubles to 8, I could take this 4 and still pay a fuck ton in commission, but that's pretty cool. I kind of like this Dash thing. It's pretty good. Or Grab, I'm sorry. Grab is kind of like DoorDash for everything in Southeast Asia. So you can grab food, you can grab product, you can it's delivery services. They're like DoorDash, but for everything. But in Southeast Asia. Doesn't look like they're in the US. And they do some financial services, they do rides. So it's a little bit of a mixture of everything. They're like an Uber and a DoorDash. Yeah, it is pretty cool. And they have a 20 billion market cap. Like it's a business. It's not some little garbage penny stock. And they have a cup and handle on the daily. Look at this. With all this increasing volume coming out of a low like that, that looks pretty good, Aram. I like this. Topher, this was nice, man. This is what you should focus on. Fuck that other shit. All of it. Everything else we've looked at today sucks. I think this is the golden goose right here. Volume on Friday, pretty good. I'm not saying we're going to break out. It's possible. Um, I like this. This looks really good. I need to add this to my list. If they come to the US, this thing's going to triple instantly. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Not that they're going to, but I like this. This looks really good. All right, I think I got to bounce, guys. I got to bounce. I got to drive all the way downtown, pick up my kids, and drive back up for soccer. Another stop in between. I'm going to bounce so I'm not completely pressed for time. But Aram, if you go back, if you do listen, we spent about 20, maybe I think 40 minutes on BTC, talking about all kinds of stuff. We did stocks probably at about an hour into the show, something like that. Most of it sucks. We're chopping around, but this grab, this is this is the golden goose of the whole thing. Yeah, if this thing does double, if this thing gets double from 8 from here, which is possible. I mean, you got a big old gap up here to fucking 11. Um, take a longer term position with an 11. Yeah. If you guys do any work on that, let me know. I'll probably post something in Slack in the stocks chat room on this. Maybe Aram, if you're interested, hit me up later. But I think this is a unique potential scenario. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. I do my show, Nicholas. If you're welcome to join the show, real-crypto.com. You can join it there. We do it every day. Do Saturday shows. I'm probably live like once a month or something. You know, but we do good work. I'll say that. All right, guys. Well, I gotta run. Have a great day. Stay safe out there. I'll see you.